Okay, so once again, welcome back. So sorry kung medyo naputol, no? I was looking for some other things. And now let's go back. Para hindi din naisip ko din, para hindi tayo masyadong hirap na hirap, no? Parang ang dami-daming ang dami-daming video and sort of. So stop sharing this one and go back. Patayong reporter. Ito na lang. Okay, so now we're in the designing the research instrument. So this is medyo na tayo, nasa chapter by this time, it's almost we're finished with with chapter 3. We're about to do the chapter 4 na. So designing the research instrument. It's very important to have a research instrument, of course. Kasi yun yung gagamitin natin sa tools. And we always tell you that please look for research, a fixed research na talaga, and then use that. Kasi what happens is kapag kunwari ang ginawa ninyo is gumawa kayo ng panibagong research, panibagong instrument, what happen is it takes time. Yun ang iniiwasan natin kasi magpapa-validate pa tayo, and pag nagpa-validate tayo, we need time, we need money kasi we don't luckily you have your teachers with you, pero not all the time. And we'll be using a statistician for this validation tool as well. Kasi iba-validate nila, and ang pinakamahal sa lahat is you'll be conducting a pilot study. Kasi may mga panel, hindi sila pumapayag. Sabi, bakit hindi nyo pinilot study? So nagkakaroon siya ng problema. So, kaya maganda sana is yung questionnaire na ginamit na sa isang study kasi na-validate na siya. So, i-email na lang natin ang ating yung may-ari ng questionnaire na yun. Pero bawal nating baguhin yung questionnaire. Hindi tayo pwedeng mag-chop suey na pabaguhin mo, kukunin mo yan, kukunin mo to, hindi pwede. Kailangan as it is yung questionnaire. Bawal siya binabago. Okay? So, every great research study begins with one question: how will I collect the right data? The accuracy of your findings depends on the tools you choose and how well they match your data and variables. So in this lesson, we'll explore two essential instruments every researcher should master. One is questionnaire for gathering broad, measurable response, and interview guide for capturing in-depth insights and experiences. By the end of this discussion, you'll see that the quality of your research results is only as strong as the questions you asked. So, before anything else, let's have a true or false question. Write T on your yellow paper and F if the statement is false. So, true or false tayo. Tingnan lang natin kung makikita ninyo. So, bilang tayo ng mga ilang minuto, you could pause this para lang din, again, ang ginagawa natin hindi tayo into kung ano yung score nyo talaga. Hindi naman siya quiz. But what I want you to do is to reflect, ano pa ba ang alam ninyo? Okay, check nyo muna. Okay? So, sige. Okay, so pause it pag hindi pa tapos. So the answer is TTFFT. So, if you got 5, congratulations. Ibig sabihin, naiintindihan nyo yung concepts. And if hindi, ayun talaga. Yun lang, no? So, there are different types of data as all we know. We have quantitative data and we have qualitative data. When we say quantitative data, it's numerical data form and it's measurable characteristics. So, it answers questions such as how many, how often, and how much. Example, ilang kilo, what is your grade, how much money, what are the number of the employees, number of hotels, your academic performance, your research, your comprehension scores, reading comprehension scores, your PISA, yun. So those are the quantitative data. And also known as quantitative data are continuous variable. which means pag sinabing continuous, it comes from measurement and can include decimals. So, ibig sabihin, hindi siya whole number lang. Pwede siyang fractions, irrational numbers such as length. Di ba ang length natin, hindi lang naman siya 5 feet. Meron siyang 5 point something, yung kilo din niya, yung height din natin, yung volume natin. So, hindi siya laging whole number. Ako, sakto yung height ko. 5. 7 feet. 5 feet. Wala nang ibang inches. Okay. So, 5 feet lang talaga. So, but not all height are like those things. Di po ba? So, we also have discrete variable, which is it comes from counting. It uses specific whole numbers only. For example, number of employees, wala po tayong kalahati. Wala din po tayong kalahating number of hotels. So, yun ang pinagkaiba. Again, when we say continuous variable, baka kasi magkaroon kayo sa statistics, ay yun yung mga may decimals or measurement. Hindi siya whole number lang. Pwede siyang may mga point. Pwede siyang may fractions. Pwede siyang negative. Whereas, the discrete variable is from counting. Kailangan whole number siya. Like 1, 2, 3, 4. For example, number of employees, yung mga data na walang point. Okay? Now, qualitative data is categorical data from descriptive attributes. So, what type? So, sometimes, the qualitative data also ay gender, ethnic, group, city, occupation. So, kasama siya. Kasi, in terms of quality ng isang napasok siya doon. So, when we say quantitative data, research title samples. So, for example, pag quantitative, impact of noise levels in public transport on reading comprehension scores of commuting students. Pwede din a correlation between handwriting, legibility, and academic performance in essay-based exams. The effect of playlist, tempo on the study habits and productivity of senior high school students, and screen time and its relationship with sleep quality among college students in living in dormitories. Now, mga anak, di ba po sinasabi ninyo, ma'am, qualitative po yung napili namin. Pero tignan niyo po, ang qualitative, wala po siyang impact, wala po siyang correlation, wala po siyang effect at saka relationship. Yung 4 na words po na yan na usually nakalagay sa topic ay quantitative data. Okay? Hindi po siya quali. Kasi ang quali, ang example po nito ay mga experiences, meanings, and narrative. Such as perception of street vendors on the role of social media in their daily business survival, exploring the coping strategies of students from broken families in balancing school and home responsibilities, voices behind the counter narrative of fast food workers on customer service challenges, lived experiences of first-generation college students coping with academic pressure. So as you can see, those are experiences, meanings, narrative. Meron tayong perceptions pero it was done through interview. So, tinanong natin sila at buhay nila yung tinanong natin. Doon sa isa kasi, it could be experience pero meron tayong binabangga na other variables. Kaya po pag quanti, meron tayong tinatawag na DV at IV. So, independent variable and dependent variable, which is ito na po. So, there are 2 types of variable in experimental research. We have independent, we have dependent variable. When we say independent variable, ito yung manipulated and controlled by the researcher and expected to affect the dependent variable. Whereas the dependent variable is the outcome observed, measured, or tested. So, paano natin siya? Sample natin ng research questions. So, title pala. So, the effect of guided meditation, which is yun yung independent variable nyo, and the spirit stress levels, which is the dependent variable, a mixed method exploration of mind, body, and spirit. As you can see in the first title, independent variable is yung effect ng guided meditation. So kung ano po yung makukuha yung number doon sa guided meditation nila, yung duration po ng time ng isang during the guided meditation, ay hindi siya mababago, hindi siya magkaka-effect. Ang magkaka-effect is yung stress levels. Prayer circles and academic resilience integrating quantitative performance measure with qualitative faith narratives. So, example din yan. Sa sacred spaces and mental gains. So, pakibasa na lang po yung mga susunod. You can pause it for that. So, research instruments na usual na ginagamit natin. By the way, I'll check muna ha. Baka mamaya hindi pala ako naka-record. Pero ni-record ko sa... So, baka hindi ko siya na-record. Okay, so yan. Nare-record naman pala siya. So next is research instruments. So one, questionnaire. So ang purpose na isang research questionnaire is collects data by addressing research problems. So ano may qualities niya? It must align with the statement of the problem. It is clear, simple, visually pleasing, and carefully constructed. Quality determines the output. So now, itong mga qualities na isang research questionnaire ay typical naman. Kasi 'di ba, yung SOP natin, of course, title is aligned with the SOP and aligned with the research questions. So, syempre, kung ano yung nasa title mo na pinopropose, yun din yung itatanong mo at yun din yung makikita ng tao. It should be clear, simple, and visually pleasing kasi minsan, pag masyadong maraming erroneous, kaya tayo may pag-grammarian pa din minsan kasi if it is too erroneous, sometimes it will be misinterpreted. At pag pangit kasi talaga yung questionnaire, hindi ka makakuha ng matinong results. So there are two types of questionnaire. We have the standardized and research made. When we say standardized, ang example niyan, kunwari, ano yung mga example ng standardized? Kunwari, example ng mga standardized, yung IQ test, yung reading comprehension, yung IELTS, yung mga ganun, standardized na yon. Or sometimes, yung mga ginawa na ng author na nagamit na siya ng mga ibang researchers. Research mate naman is gagawin nyo. It needs content plus construct validation before use. Kaya po kailangan, pag research made, pinapilot study po siya aside sa validation. Survey question types, meron tayong dichotomous, which answers yes or no, true or false. Likert scale, strongly agree to strongly disagree. Minsan 5 po siya to 4 to 5. We also have list, options na pwede nilang i-check or tick if, for example, marami kayong mga titignan. So, kung hindi lang isa yung tamang sagot. Ranking is order items by priority and numerical such as age nila. We also have interview guide. When we say interview guide, the purpose is to collect qualitative data. Its format is open-ended. Although ang interview guide natin ay inaano pa din siya, bina-validate pa din siya. Hindi siya yung basta-basta lang na ilalabas mo. Kasi yung qualitative data, kailangan, although open-ended siya, kailangan ma-direct mo yung, you should know how to direct your respondents. So, respondents kasi pag quantitative, pag qualitative, participants yata yung tawag. Parang ganon. So, kailangan ma-direct mo sila doon sa gusto mong malaman. So we have types of interview guides. We have unstructured, semi-structured, and structured. When we say unstructured, it's very open because it is only 1 to 2 questions. And the flow depends on the researcher and flexible exploratory. Sometimes, I've already answered a sample ng unstructured. I was asked about, I think, ano nga ba yung question ni sir? Nakalimutan ko eh. Basta I was asked by my professor because I was part of the unstructured type interview guide. And then ang haba na nagulat ako, nabot kami ng 2 oras. Ang simple lang ng tanong niya ng simula. And then napahaba na siya because every time I answer something, he asked me and then it starts na ganon. So depende yun sa researcher. Semi-structured naman, it's mix of open and closed questions, allows follow-up questions, flexible order, and time-consuming. Kasi ano siya the structured is there's already a set pero pwede pa siyang mag-follow-up question. Whereas the structured naman, it's predetermined question or answers. It's same order for all respondents and limited options. For example, pag sobrang structured ng question, for example, pag tinetest yung bata ini-interview mo yung bata, pero meron lang silang certain na sasagutan. Yun. So, yun yung structured. Talagang hindi sila pwedeng, hindi kayo magkukwentuhan. Pero sobrang lalim niya. Grabe, sobrang haba. Yan. Sample research question. Pag quantitative focus, example, measuring senior high school students' knowledge and attitude towards comprehensive sex education. So the effect of sex education programs and the awareness of safe practices among college. So yan. Pag naman qualitative or interview guide-based, exploring hotel managers' experience in handling guest complaints. Stories from the front desk, a qualitative analysis on the challenges and hotel receptionists. Pag naman mixed methods, kultura at identidad, isang mixed methods na pag-aaral sa pagtangkilik ng kabataan sa tradisyonal na sining. So example yan ng mga mixed methods. So now for the data analysis, the first question that might be asked is, have you ever wondered what your data is really trying to tell you? Collecting information is just the first step. The real magic happens when you analyze it. As a researcher, one of the hardest thing that I will be doing or you might be doing is to understand what will happen to the data I've collected. So now I've already have this so beautiful questions and napakadami na eh. Anong gagawin ko ma'am pagkatapos? That's the problem eh. But whenever you analyze this one, kunyari unti-unti lumabas yung mga sagot doon sa mga tanong mo, you will realize na shucks, ang ganda ng research ko. Parang I answered so many questions and yun nga lang, again, hindi siya madali. Hindi talaga siya madali. It's not easy as 1, 2, 3. So for a while, I'm just removing some okay. So read the contents of the meme below and discover the power of human mind. Yeah. I hope you could understand. I'll give you some time to read. Okay, so allow me to read this one. According to research at Cambridge University, it doesn't matter what order the letters in a word are. The only important thing is that the first and last letters are the right place. The rest can be a total mess, and you can still read it without a problem. This because we do not read every letter by itself, but the word as a whole. This is so nice. What is data analysis? Data analysis is making sense of the information you collected. The purpose of it is to find patterns, themes, and meaning in your data. Think of it like being a detective. You have clues or data, you have the evidence analysis, and then you have a case solved. Conclusion na siya. But why is it important? It helps you to answer questions. It turns raw numbers or words into useful insights and basis for your conclusion and recommendation. Must be done objectively to have trustworthy results. Ways to analyze data. We could use Microsoft Excel or SPSS for the statistic version and NVivo for the qualitative text analysis. Also, right now, we could use ChatGPT and other AI tools. Kaya lang, of course, kailangan nating mag-ingat pa din. Baka mamaya, hindi siya masyadong na-analyze ng mabuti. We need to have the right prompts to get the proper results. Without software, okay lang kasi we could do manual counting, grouping, and organizing. So careful reading is equal to highlighting the themes. So what are the different types of quantitative data analysis? So use statistics that answers the question how many, how much, or how often. The two types niyan ay descriptive analysis, statistics, which summarizes your data. Almost all research na ginagawa ng undergrad ay mayroong descriptive statistics. Now, when we say inferential statistics, it predicts or tests different relationship. Sa descriptive statistics, kahit wala kang statistician sa pagkakaalam ko, kasi you're just looking for the description lang, pinagsasama-sama mo lang siya, anyway, it summarizes the data. But when it comes to inferential statistics, I think it's important that you have your statistician kasi meron na siyang pagbabangga-banggain. So, descriptive statistics helps you summarize data in meaningful ways. Common method niya is frequency distribution. It organizes data into categories, shows how often some things appear. So, for example, number of students per age group. Kunwari, ilan ang female dito sa, sa HM? Ilan ang male sa HM? Ilan ang single? Ilan ang married dito sa barangay na to? Ilan ang divorce? Okay, siguro wala naman tayong divorce. Ilan ang hiwalay? Yung mga ganon. Descriptive statistics siya. So, in any case, student screen time. So, the research question, how many hours do students spend on social media? Ayun ang step 1. Step 2, collect the data. So, responses mo sa 10 estudyante ay 2 hours, 3, 4, 5, 2, 6, 3, 4, 2, 5 hours. Now, step 3, organize the data, frequency distribution. Hours of time, inayos mo siya. So, ang 2 hours, mayroon 3 estudyante. 3 oras, 2, 4, 2, 5, 2, at 6 hours, 1. So, descriptive statistics na. Interpret the data. Most of the students spend 2 hours kasi yun yung highest frequency na nakita mo. Tapos, few students naman, 6 hours or lowest frequency. So, pag in-average mo silang dalawa, 3.6 hours a day. So now you could draw a conclusion. On average, students spend about 3 to 4 hours daily on social media. Only a small group spends more than 5 hours. Make it visual. You could add bar graph, hours versus number of students. Yeah. So, and you can follow up with a qualitative example. Why do students spend more or less time? Lalo na kung 10 lang, pwede mo silang interviewin. That's an example of the mini case study natin. Descriptive statistics, making sense of the data. Sabi dito, data is everywhere from exam scores, TikTok hours, to hotel reviews. But how do we make sense of these numbers? Doon papasok ang descriptive statistics kasi parang, okay, anong gagawin ko doon sa mga data na nakikita ko? So, paano natin siya magagawa into a study? Doon papasok ang descriptive statistics. So, for example, raw data, meron tayong tinatawag na raw data. It's a data collected in original form, such as quiz, 75, 80, 90, 95, 85. The range naman is the highest to lowest value. So, highest minus the lowest, 95 minus 75 is equals to 20. That's the range. Midpoint is middle value of a class. So, 70 plus 79 divided by 2 is 74.5. So, yan, pwede. Middle value nila pag in-arrange. So, frequency distribution, nakita na natin kanina. Class limits and boundaries, smallest and largest in a class group, 70 minus, okay? So, now we also have the different types of variables. We have the nominal and ordinal. When we say nominal, categories without order sila. Religion, blood type. Yun. Ordinal naman, ordered but distances unknown. Socioeconomic status, rankings, church, trophy, Likert scale. So, paano, di ba? Yung nominal na data, hindi mo siya mararank, kaya nga hindi siya ordinal. So mga data lang siya na kahit may number siya, wala naman, hindi mo siya mararank. Parang hiwa-hiwalay sila. Okay, ano ka, Katoliko ka, Islam ka, Muslim ka, Christian ka. So tatlo, hindi mo sila, wala kang mararank dun sa dalawa. Pero pag kunwari, o ikaw, ano economic status mo? Mga gano'n, mararank mo siya na economic eh. So, pababa. Ranking ng ano, sino ang naka-first, sino second, yun, sa mga yun. Anong rank mo sa gobyerno? Anong salary grade mo? Ayun, mga ordinal siya. So, sample ng titles for English major: frequency of code switching in English-Filipino conversation, descriptive analysis of errors in subject and verb agreement. Sa Filipino research titles, pagsusuri ng dalas na paggamit ng wikang panlalawigan sa pamantasan, pag-aanalisa ng ugnayan ng antas ng edukasyon at pananaw sa kulturang bayan. So HM, descriptive statistics on guest satisfaction ratings in local hotels, analyzing customer preference, popular menu choices in university criteria. Always remember, descriptive statistics is equals to organizing plus summarizing the data. The tools: range, frequency, relative frequency, cumulative frequency, or graphs. An application useful in research, business, and daily life. Kaya huwag kayong mag-alala kasi itong ano natin na to, hindi na kailangan to ng statistician pag descriptive research lang siya. So now, I want you to do this on your yellow pad again. So magkakasunod dyan. Let's try to analyze our next lesson. Ay, tingnan niyo to. Situation. Kindly read it on your own and we will analyze it. Sorry, mainit. Okay, so 20 students were asked, what is your favorite type of pet? Here are their answers. So the first step na gagawin natin is to organize into categories. So ito yung mga madalas. We have dog, cat, bird, and fish. Now make the table. So hindi siya nakakopya. Ilan yung dog? Itatali mo siya. Ilan yung cat? Ilan yung bird? Ilan yung fish? Okay, so now, for dog, meron tayong 11 divided by 20. Bakit? Kasi yun yung dami nung sinurvey mo times 100. Okay, so nakuha na natin. So, dog 55%, cat 30%, bird 15%, and fish 10%. Interpret natin. Most students prefer, 55% prefer dogs. Cats are second most popular, and birds and fish are 15 and 10% are less common choices. So, yun example ng paggawa natin ng descriptive research. Now, categorical frequency distribution. So what is it? It's a way of organizing data into categories or groups. Yun nga yung napag-usapan natin kanina, nominal and ordinal. Bakit natin siya ginagamit? Because it makes data easier to read and understand, and it helps to see patterns. Ano ba yung pinaka-common sa lahat? So kanina, nag-try tayo ng dogs and cats. Now let us try to analyze this one. 50 hotel guests answered a survey. Their ages are combined into age groups instead of listing each age. So, categorical frequency distribution, the youngest group nakita mo is 18 to 27, had the most respondents. Meron tayong 12 guests. The number of guests gradually decreases with older age groups. This helps us understand age profile of their customers. So in the daily life, pwede natin siyang gamitin. Ngayon, nalalaman natin, ito pala yung mas gusto ng ito pala yung kinikater namin. Ngayon, as a hotel staff manager, you will know what kind of promotion you'll be offering based on the age range na madalas ninyong customer. Group frequency distribution, what is it? A way of organizing continuous data into ranges instead of listing each individual value. Hindi naman natin kailangan, lalo na pag malawakan na isa-isa. Pwede natin siyang i-class. It helps us to see patterns. Well, there are many numbers. Bakit natin siya ginagamit? Makes large data sets simpler to understand. Shows how values are spread across ranges. So kung mapapansin ninyo sa ibang study, ang nangyayari is, kunwari, ilan ang, anong age range? For example, 30 to 35. Nandun na. So, 30 to 35 years old, o kaya yung scores nila, yung mga na-scores mo, kunwari masyadong malaki yon. So, ganun na siya. Naka-age, naka-range na siya. So now, a better frequency distribution, a better appreciation of numerical data can be done through visualization. That is through the use of bar graphs, different graphs such as pie chart, which is very important, lalo na mas madali natin siyang nakikita. Ayan, sample ng Philippine Statistic Authority. Ayan, we could also use bar chart or bar graph. Ayan, sample yan. Because it is useful for displaying such as frequency count. So, mas madali natin siyang madi-display. We could also use frequency polygon or line graph frequency polygon. We could also use line graph. Now, measures of central tendency. What does it mean? It's a way to find middle or center of group or of numbers. Think of it as the typical value of the data. Focus on the mean. The mean is what we usually call average. So, lagi niyong tatandaan yan. Lalo na sa mga eduk, huwag nating kakalimutan. How to get it? Add all up numbers, divide it by how many numbers there are. So, the average is likely sharing equally. If everyone puts their money together and splits it fairly, each person would have the same amount. That's the mean. Not your mean, but that's the mean. So, imagine, 5 friends bought juice. 10 pesos for Ana, 15 pesos for Ben, Carla 20, 15, and Ella 10. Step 1, add mo lahat, overall 70 pesos. Then divide 70 by number of friends, 14 pesos. On average, each friend spends 14 pesos. Now, kung meron tayong average or mean, we also have median or the middle value. The median is the number in the middle, or number arranged from smallest to biggest. So example, odd number of data, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So paano natin bibilangin? So, kunwari, kung ganyan lang kaliit, anong gitna? So 2 and 10, 4 and 6, 4 and 8, and then the middle is 6. So the median is 6. Ganyan. So imagine 5 kids lined up by height. The middle child is the median. If there are 4 kids, the median is the number between the 2 middle kids. Yon ang median. Measures of dispersion, spread of data. When we collect numbers or data, we don't just want to know the center, mean, median, mode. We also want to know how spread out the numbers are. That's where the measures of dispersion come in. So, paano siya? Meron tayong tinatawag na range. When we say range, this difference between the highest and lowest value. Range is equals to highest and lowest. How far apart are the smallest and the biggest? Yun yung ina-answer ng range. When we say variance, it tells us how the numbers vary from mean. If variance is small, numbers are close together, whereas the variance is large, numbers are spread out. Example dito, if most students' scores are very close to average, variance is small. So formula, don't worry too much. This is just an idea. Ayan ang formula niyan. When we say standard deviation naman, it's the real life measured of spread. It's the square root of variance, easier to understand than variance because in the same unit as the data. If the average score is 80 but most students scored between 78 to 80, meron tayong low standard deviations because the scores are consistent. But if the scores are between 50 to 100, the standard deviation scores are very spread out. So mapapansin nyo kunwari, pag nagkaroon kayo ng exam, pag kunwari ang mga score nyo ay magkakalapit, consistent ang score ninyo. Pero pag kunwari 50 to 100, ibig sabihin sobrang laki. Halos lahat kayo iba. Yung medyo hindi siya okay kasi parang may mga nahuhuli talaga pag ganun. Kasi sobra yung spread niya talaga. It's not consistent. Ang alam ko, yan din yung tinitignan ng mga kaya tayo nagpapa-pilot study. Pag kunwari, sa standard deviation, sa pagkakaalam ko ha, ay masyado siyang magkakaiba talaga, hindi consistent yung mismong ginamit na tool, hindi siya okay. May mali sa kanya. Kaya kailangan talaga pina-pilot study yung study. Kasi minsan nagkakaroon ng problema dito sa standard deviation. Masyado siyang, yung naging answer ng mga respondents, masyadong naging palalayo. And ibig sabihin nun, yung hindi siya applicable doon sa mga respondents, hindi siya talaga makukuha. Ayun, alam ko may ganun din eh. So sample data set student test scores. So for example, ang scores nila ay 70, 75, 80, 85, 90. Ang range niya ay highest to lowest value. So 20. The scores are spread out by 20 points. Mean naman, sum ng scores, ang mean niya is 80. Variance naman is 62.5. Ayan. Now, we also have inferential statistics. What is it? It's a way to use data from a sample to make conclusions or predictions about the whole population. So instead of asking everyone, you study a smaller group, then generalize the results. So if you survey 100 hotel guests, you can infer something about all guests. So inference, usually sa English, ginagamit natin siya, tsaka sa Filipino, inference is based on what you are now seeing, pwede ka mag-infer na ito yung totality nito. Kagaya nito, nag-survey ka na ng 100, so you assume na kahit na yung mga ibang data, kahit na may dumating pa na ibang guest, kahit hindi mo na survey, kunwari yung 200 or 300 or 1,000 guests nila ngayon, okay lang. Kasi you conducted at least 100 eh. We assume na. Ayun. So, two main uses niya is estimation and hypothesis testing. Estimation, guessing or predicting the value for the population. Example, based on our survey, the average guest satisfaction score is 4.3 over 5. We estimate this is close to the whole population's average. So, you're trying it. Hypothesis, checking if your educated guess is likely true. Testing if guests really prefer hotel A over hotel B. Example yun. Hypothesis is like an educated guess and you want to test it. Usually sa quantitative to. So there are different types of hypothesis. We have null, which is always says there's no effect or no difference. Ang example niya at usually nakalagay na sa paper is there's no significant relationship between hotel and attributes and guest satisfaction. Pinapalit-palitan na lang siya ng words. You don't need to put a lot of colorful words. Ayan na lang, pinapalit-palitan na lang ng mga data. Alternative hypothesis, or also called as research hypothesis, says that there's an effect or difference. Example, there's a significant relationship between hotel brand attributes and guest satisfaction. So again, pag sinusulat yan sa research, yun na yun. So in short, imagine flipping a coin. HO, the coin is fair, equal chance or heads or tails. H1, the coin is not fair, more likely one-sided. By flipping many times and recording results, you test HO should be rejected. Kasi, nung pag-check mo, kahit anong flip mo, flip ka ng flip, ay isa lang lagi lumalabas. So, nung nirecord mo siya, after, let's say, 10, lagi siya, may mali na doon. Yun ang reject the HO na sinasabi mo na coin is fair, hindi pala, and accept H1. So inferential statistics, making smart guesses about big group based on a smaller group. It helps research to go beyond describing data, proving or disproving some claims. So meron tayong mga iba't ibang ginagamit na method nito. So the pinakamadalas is ANOVA or analysis of variance. We also have t-test, Pearson correlation. So ngayon, titignan natin kung ano yung pinagkaiba ng dalawa. ANOVA ang gagamitin kapag, kunwari, mayroon kang tatlong grupo. When checking if multiple groups differ, no significant difference among the groups. Example, you will rate buffet, cafe, fast food chains, the same ba sila? Meron ka kunwari doon sa pagbabangga-banggain mo, yung buffet, let's say, meron kang nakitang tatlong cafe na popular here in Bulacan. Starbucks, Shuttle's Best, at saka Dunkin Donuts. Ayan. So, may tatlo kang cafe. Actually, parang, ano sila sila kasi yung mga OG talaga ng mga coffee. Although, donut kasi is, in Philippines, hindi natin siya view as kagaya ng cafe talaga ng Starbucks eh. Pero una maliit si Dunkin Donut. Pero let's say na kunwari silang tatlo. Binangga-bangga natin kasi sila yung mga pinaka-popular. So, pagbabangga-bangga mo sa ano ba tawag doon? When we have t-test naman, it compares the means of two. When comparing two groups, no significance different between X and Y. So now, do male and female guest rate hotel services the same? So, dalawa lang. T-test. Magkaiba ba si male tsaka si female pag naging rate? O kaya, ang madalas na tip, mas malaki bang magbigay ng tip si male or si female? Or ano ba, mas madami bang in-order si male kaysa kay female? So, yun. Pearson correlation naman measures the strength of relationship between two variables. When checking if two variables are related, no significant relationship. Ang gusto mong malaman, is there a link between study hours and exam scores? So, Pearson is relationship. So, kanina, ang ANOVA compares 3 or more groups. T-test compares 2 groups. Whereas Pearson correlation, relationship ang binabangga nila. Yun, may relationship ba yung dalawa or may effect? So again, kagaya nung kanina, t-test, example nito, ANOVA. For example, ng t-test ay 2 groups, male versus female, guest satisfaction. ANOVA, example, buffet versus cafe versus fast food ratings. Correlation, study hours versus exam scores. So, yung pinagkaiba ng iba. So, magbibigay ako ng mga sample na title. Pag t-test, 2 groups, sample pag HM. A comparative study on the satisfaction levels of local versus foreign guests in selected hotels. So now, local versus foreign. Now, ANOVA, an analysis of service quality ratings among guests of budget, mid-range, and luxury hotels in Metro Manila. So we compare 3. Correlation, relationship between online food vlogging and customer visit in buffet restaurants. Example, Filipino naman, t-test, isang paghahambing sa antas ng akademikong pagganap ng mga mag-aral na mas pinipiling gumamit ng Filipino kaysa Ingles. So, ang ihahambing mo ay antas ng akademikong pagganap ng mga mag-aaral. So, yung mga pinipili si English versus Filipino. Ano ba? Pagsusuri ng antas ng pagkatuto na mag-aaral sa 3 uri ng pamamaraan ng pagtuturo sa Filipino. So, pwede kang magkaroon ng 3 pag-uuri na 3 klase ng pagtuturo. Titignan mo kung alin doon ang effective. Correlation, ugnayan ng antas ng paggamit ng wikang panlalawigan at pagkakakilanlan. So, mayroon tayong relationship. English, a comparative study on the reading comprehension performance of male and female senior high school. So, pinag-compare mo yung male at female. ANOVA, a study on the writing proficiencies of students across humanities, STEM, and TVL strands. So, lahat ng yung 3 major senior high school. Correlation is the relationship between students' vocabulary size on their oral communication confidence. So I hope that you see the difference between the 3. Finding stories in data. Now, what is qualitative data? It's about stories, words, and pictures. Researchers try to understand feelings, ideas, and experiences. Examples niya, asking kids what's your favorite subject and then asking why. So siguro, who is the researcher? You are the main instrument. You make sense of what people say or do. but you need to follow steps to keep fair and correct. So yun yung pinagkaiba nito. The thematic analysis or the theme hunt, a way to find patterns in stories. Ngayon, natanong mo na sila using your guided questions, what we will do is you will check, ano ba yung mga theme na it's either pag kunwari 8 in-interview mo, hanapin mo yung mga pagkakapareho nila. Pag naman isa lang, hanapin mo kung saan ba talaga pinaka nag-revolve dyan. Sabi nga, finding the main idea in a book or movie. Themes, big ideas that show up again and again and again and again and again. So, thematic analysis. There are 6 easy steps for that according to Braun and Clark. Una is to get to know the data. Read it many times. Read as much as possible. Now, since you've read it, you have transformed it from siguro voice messages, to text, voice to text na siya, you'll now start coding. Mark important words or ideas. And then find themes. Look for repeated patterns. Check the themes. Do they make sense? Name the themes. Give them clear labels. And then that's the time you write your story and share what you have found. Example, you interview question mo is, what do you like about your school? So the answers are, I love playing with my friends. I enjoy drawing in art class. I like recess because I can run around. So ano ba yung mga nakuha mong codes? You have friends, art, and play. So the theme would be fun and creativity in school. Bakit siya important? It helps us understand people's feelings and experiences. It helps teachers, parents, and leaders make better decisions and shows us a real story behind the numbers. Kasi minsan hindi natin kayang sagutin yung mga tanong na sobrang parang sobrang kulang. Ang kailangan natin ay himay-himayin talaga kung ba't nagkaganon. So, example ng coding, you can combine inductive and deductive approach to coding. For instance, one of your predetermined codes is sacrificing for the family. Once you've read a line in the transcript which reflects the idea of sacrificing, then you jot down a code. For example, dito, sa tingin ko, dahilan ng mama ko kung bakit siya nagpuntang ibang bansa ay para sa aming magkakapatid upang matustusan kung ano man ang bagay na kailangan namin. So, ang code nito, having to live away from children, sacrificing, prioritizing basic needs. Interview 2. Sa kadahilanan ng aking ina ay single parent, kailangan niyang kumayod para sa magkakapatid. As you can see, para din siyang sacrificing. So, ilalagay mo siya sa word na sacrificing. Hindi sapat ang kanyang sahod sa scarcity in family para matustusan ang aming pag-aaral, lalo na't ako ay nasa kolehiyo na. Prioritizing basic needs in education. So, same with the number 3 din. So, ngayon, dahil dito, nakakuha ka na ng mga iba't ibang coding. Diba? So, what does it mean? After coding, marking important words or ideas, we look for patterns. We group similar codes together for themes. How to do it? Find repeated codes, words, ideas that show up a lot, group them, and connect basic themes to the main bigger themes. So, for example, ito yung mga codes na nakuha mo. Scarcity in family resource, availability of work, prioritizing basic needs, and so on and so on and so on. So, basic themes nito, at ngayon, gumawa ka na ng organizing themes. So, ganun din yung gagawin mo sa lahat. Now, after grouping codes into themes, you double check. Does this code really belong here? If not, move it to the right theme. Ayan. So, ganyan ang gagawin nyo pag nagko-coding na kayo. Defining themes. In this phase, you can refine your themes and think of better names for our themes. For example, you realize that better name would be best capture and pattern ideas. Dito, pwede ka namang magpalit-palit ng mga titles ng iyong theme. Ayan. So, magiging ganito na siya. Magiging ganito. Kaya sobrang ba't ganito? Consequence of parental absence ay ito. Ito kasi yung mga nakuha mong theme. Okay? Magiging ganyan siya. Writing up the findings, what does it mean? After analyzing your data, you now tell the story of what you did, you summarize, and use direct quotes of your findings. So how to do it? Name of the team. For example, longing for parental love and care. Summarize what most participants said, add sample quotes, explain what it means. For example, longing for parental love and care, many students said that they felt sad and lonely when parents were away. Some worried about their parents but felt comforted when they called or visited. Quotes, they call us every day and I feel their presence. So meaning even parents and gifts, children still need love and presence. So when to use a Likert scale? Use it when you want to measure attitudes or opinion. Know the degree of intensity of feelings, compare the results. So, example natin ay pag hotel management, the cleanliness of hotel rooms met my expectations. Check lang nila yan. Filipino, mas epektibo ang paggamit ng wikang Filipino kesa sa pagtuturo. For English, I feel confident when speaking in front of the class. So, siguro, pahinga muna tayo and I'll be recording the next one para sa ibang para hindi kayo mabombard. Okay? So, I'll be stop recording na.